As a chiropractor, time is money. The more time that you spend treating patients, the more money you make. This means that ideally 100% of your time is spent treating patients. In reality, this isn't exactly what happens. There's a ton of admin supporting activities that have to be done in order to run the practice. So the goal then becomes reducing as much time that you spend on those activities as possible. That way you can spend the most amount of your time treating patients and thus the most amount of your time making money. Luckily, with some simple math, we can figure out how we can do this profitably and which activities we should replace. Let's dive in. This is something I don't think very many people think of, but these supporting activities that you're doing do actually have a hard cost in terms of the business. It's just calculated with your time as opposed to paying someone else. The time that you spend on these activities could have been spent treating patients, which means that we have a true opportunity cost in terms of how much time it is taking you in order to do these activities. So we have 4 steps to look at in order to do this process of seeing which activities we should replace and how much we should look to replace them for. The first step is to go ahead and figure out how much your time is worth. So we need to figure out your hourly rate. The way we do this is we divide the revenue by the hours worked. Usually you can find both of these pretty easily in your EHR. So a lot of times your EHR will record revenue for, let's just say, the year. And a lot of times it'll also record your hours for the year. And so if you go into your EHR, usually in your reports, that's usually where it's held at, you'll usually find you can see how many hours you worked for the year. And usually it'll calculate this by the amount of shifts that you've had over the year. And so as an example, let's just say that you made $300,000 last year and you worked 2,000 hours. This gives us an hourly rate of $150. If you want just kind of a back of napkin number of hours worked over a year, then if you work 40 hours per week, and let's just say you also have 2 vacation weeks over that year. So if you work 50 weeks, then you work 2,000 hours over that year. So now that we have our hourly rate, we go ahead and move to step 2, which is figuring out how many hours you spend on non-billable tasks. Depending upon how you do things, this could be really easy to find, or it could be kind of difficult. So as an example, let's say that you do things just super consistently every single week. So as an example, let's just go ahead and say that every day after work, you spend an hour catching up on patient notes. So this is very easy to see that if you spend, let's say 5 days a week, if you spend an hour each day, then that's 5 hours per week on patient notes. Alternatively, if you spend the time that you do not have any patients coming in on, let's say, admin work like insurance billing, then you can easily go into your EHR and see how many hours you had over, let's just say, the week. And if you spent every hour not working on patients, just kind of whenever you had a lull in your schedule, if you spent every hour then on billing insurance, then you can really easily see, just looking at your EHR, how many hours you would have spent billing insurance over the course of the week. If you don't have a repeatable schedule that you can go ahead and look back at, or something easy to look back on your EHR and see the time you spent on these things, then we'll want to go ahead and record it going forward. Usually you kind of do the exact same activities week after week. And so usually we might just want to do this for 1 or 2 weeks, just kind of get an idea. And then we can go ahead and take those and just use that for the rest of the time. Unless you're going through some huge change in your practice, it's unlikely that those hours are going to change. And so we can just use that for 1 or 2 weeks to just kind of get an idea and then just use that and extrapolate that out for the rest of the year. And so for recording the time you spend on these other activities, there are 2 ideas I have for you that you can try which one, see which one works best for you. So the first one is just go ahead and use a stopwatch. There's my stopwatch drawing for you. But you want to go ahead and use a stopwatch and just use it to track the time that you are spending on a certain activity. So you start it whenever you start the activity, and then you stop it whenever you're done. And so let's say you're doing some marketing work. You would start the stopwatch whenever you start doing the marketing work. Whenever you're done, you stop it and then just write it down on a piece of paper and then tally that up at the end of the week. The second way is to go ahead and put it on your calendar and just block off a time. Let's say that you just block off a time of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Let's just say your marketing work or cleaning the office, something like that. Just go ahead and block it off on the calendar. And if you need to, add another block, but that way you have a realistic idea of this is how long it took me, is this section right here. And then again, at the end of the week, we can tally all of that up and go ahead and see how long you spent on these activities. And for these activities, you want to do a list, a tally for each different activity that you do, because different activities will have different solutions. If you're cleaning the office, right, that's a different solution than doing marketing work, which is a different solution than billing insurance. And so we want to do that for every single admin and supporting activity that you do. That way we can figure out the solution and look at the cost and everything for it later. But let's just go with a simple example here. And let's say you spend 3 hours per week on marketing, 5 hours per week on patient notes, 4 hours per week billing insurance, and 15 minutes per week cleaning the office. These aren't necessarily meant to be realistic. It's just an example. The time that you spend on activities may be really different, and you might have a lot of different activities in there as opposed to just our simple 4 item list here. But again, this is just meant to give you an idea so that we can use this for an example. So now we have our hours. We go ahead and move on to step 3, which is calculating the cost of each of these hours in terms of labor. Now what we do is we already have our time. We have 3 hours on marketing per week. We have 5 hours per week on patient notes. We have 4 hours per week billing insurance, and then we have 15 minutes per week cleaning the office. This is, again, just our example. What we do is we multiply this by our hourly rate that we determined earlier. And so we have here's $450 worth of your time spent on marketing per week, $750 of your time spent on patient notes, $600 of your time spent on billing insurance, and finally $37.50 of your time per week spent on cleaning the office. So if we go ahead and say that you spend 2 weeks on vacation per year, and then we look at that monthly, what it becomes is $1,875 per month on marketing, $3,125 per month on patient notes, $2,500 per month on billing insurance, and finally $156.25 per month on cleaning the office. So this is the amount of money basically that you are spending in terms of your labor costs to do each of these activities. And so if you had instead spent all this time on treating patients, this is about how much money per month you would expect to make in total. Now, obviously, a lot of these are kind of required. And so we don't want to just go and say, we're going to reduce these as much as possible without finding a replacement. For example, it could be really easy to say, I'm spending $1,875 per month on marketing. I'm just going to go ahead and stop doing that. I would probably go ahead and argue that 0 hours per week spent on marketing as opposed to 3 hours per week is probably worse, because at least with 3 hours per week, you know that you're getting patients, at least if you're doing it right. And so instead spending 0 just kind of means that you're going to see a significant reduction in terms of the new patients you're seeing. And so we obviously don't want to do that. Patient notes are obviously required, right? And billing insurance is another thing where it's supporting, but it's very obvious to see how we can make money from it. So we don't want to just cut our time on this across the board without having a clear plan of how we're going to do so. And so now we're going to go ahead and look at the cost of replacing these and see if it's worth it. And then if it is worth it, we'll go ahead and try and find these solutions that we can implement in order to do that. Let's just go ahead and say that you find someone to replace you with the marketing. Hint, hint, I could be that person. If you're interested, I've left a link at the top of the description you can use to book a call. But anyway, let's say that this person costs $1,000 per month. This isn't exactly meant to be representative of the cost of our services specifically. It depends on what your goal is. We do it all custom, and we use, again, a kind of metric and math-based approach similar to what we're doing here to very clearly see how we can improve your practice, and then clearly see how we are improving your practice, and then we kind of bill based on that. So we'll always save you or make you more money than you are paying us. If this at all sounds interesting to you and you'd like to learn more, I've left a link at the top of the description below. You can click it and book a free consultation call. It's completely free. If we're not a good fit, I will send you some free resources that you can use to improve your practice. So either way, you won't walk away empty-handed. Again, the link is at the top of the description below. Even if our results stay the same here, we now profit $875 per month, because in this scenario, you would replace the time that you are spending on marketing and instead spend it treating patients. And so now you make $1,875 per month. And instead, someone does marketing for you for $1,000 per month, which means that you are making an extra $875 per month treating patients instead of working on marketing. And so then we just go down the board and we can see if we can do this for basically everything else. So let's just say that, patient notes, again, is something that's kind of hard to completely replace, but there are softwares out there that can do this stuff for you. And so let's say that there is a $50 per month software that goes ahead and takes the notes for you. It's an AI software. Patientnotes.app is one that one of my clients really likes. I'm not affiliated. It's just one that he really likes. And so you might check that one out. And let's go ahead and say it saves you 3 hours per week in terms of patient notes. So that's 3 more hours per week that you could spend treating patients. And so in this one, we would now be making $1,825 per month, because we save 3 hours spending it on taking patient notes, and now we're treating patients with this. And minus the cost of our software, this directly makes $1,825 per month. And so again, let's just keep going down the line and say that insurance, we find someone who can do it for $1,000 per month. And so even if everything gets billed the same and we have the same payout rates and everything, again, this saves us $1,500. As for the cleaning thing, you can see right here for $156 per month, we're probably not gonna be able to find anyone who can clean our office for us. And so this one, we might just go ahead and keep doing it. Now, if you really don't like cleaning, then maybe you'd want to go ahead and hire it out anyway. And for some of these, depending on your goal might be to make the most amount of money possible. And so you'd instead want to spend all this time that you're saving from this treating patients, and so that you can again make the most money possible. But depending on your goal, maybe you just want to replace all this time and just spend it doing something else, right? Hanging out with family, friends, whatever. And so depending on your goal, this may be worth it for you to just go ahead and replace it and then just not do it and just, go relax and hang out. or it might be worth it for you to spend all that time instead treating patients. Again, depends on your goal. But either way, using this process, we can see how we can replace activities profitably and in a way that overall makes us more money, or at least doesn't lose us money compared to our hourly rate. And so this takes away the question of, will this be worth it or is it worth it? And instead it turns the question into, at what point is this worth it? So as an example, let's say that finding someone who bills insurance for you instead costs $4,000 per month. For most people, that's probably not really worth it for them, and they'd probably rather either go and find someone else or just do it themselves. Again, it depends on your goal, but for most people, it's probably not worth it. And so we can go ahead and just see here, we can look at these and we can say, okay, this is about how much money that you could expect to make from replacing these activities with just treating patients. And so now if this is how much money we can make, then what can we do that we can replace it with that overall means that we net profit? And so again, this process just makes it really easy to see how we can replace these profitably. Again, if you'd like to see how we can help you improve your practice, I'd left a link at the top of the description. You can go ahead and click that and book a free consultation call. If we're not a good fit, I'll send you some free resources that you can use to improve your practice. So either way, you won't go away empty-handed. Again, the link is at the top of the description below. If you like this kind of metric and math-based approach to figuring out how to improve your practice and get a very clear picture to do so, then you'll like just about all the content that we have on this channel and everything that we offer. But specifically, you'll like this video here, where we go over how well your marketing is doing and how to improve it based on the metrics. Either way, I hope this video was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.